Hi guys. Um, on to the next week. So last week I lost. I brought a bad team. I played poorly and I wasn't feeling good. So this week I was like, I'm gonna bring a team that's not perfect, but it's a team that's good against this specific opponent and a team that I just wanna bring and feel comfortable with. And Ojama was like, yeah, you should use 4 attacks Metagross. It's really good. And I was like, yeah, you're actually right. It is really good. So I was like, I'm gonna start with this. And I like built the team like going forward from like league matchups. This set's just so good. It always trades at least 1-for-1, oftentimes preventing rocks, and many times trading 2-for-1 if the opponent tries to get rocks. And I wanted to go with Infernape because I was looking at like the scout and they brought like a lot of weird stuff and a lot of like slow-ish teams, and Infernape does well against those. And then I also had this because it's perfect Infernape support and because it does well against like bulky teams and it's just generally a good mon. This time I wanted to be better against Estiv's Skarmory, so I have more S attack and less of this. Also because I have 2 decent steals, which can switch into Ladias. Um, so yeah, the starting point was like kind of Metagross in front of Titar. Started with these. I didn't have the sets like decided yet and shit, but I knew I wanted this set, and I knew I wanted like a Trap Titar and like U-turn Ladias. And then I put Sword Stance Napoleon down there because, I lost to it last week, so I have to use it this week. That's how it goes, no? No, just kidding. I just really liked the set against Excel and Sakito because I was looking at their scout and it just looked like it was doing fine. And they like looked weak to like water moves in general, but I didn't want to like Hydro Pump because it's unreliable. And also because Infernape actually prepares super well for Empoleon. You chip damage Gyarados, you chip damage Ladias, you oftentimes force Rotom in for a revenge kill and then you can trap it and shit like that, so it prepares super well. And then, oh, sorry, I'm so tired, I'm sorry. And then I needed fighting resist, so I put these 2 in, and I needed rocks. And I really wanted spin because Skarmory against this is not ideal. Skarmory against this is not ideal. Skarmory against this at least gets a spike up. And I wanted to spin so Infernape gets to live as long as possibly. As long as, it possibly can. And rocks and spin kind of leaves me with Claydol, Fori, or Donphan. And I kind of wanted a fighting resist other than Rotom. And I didn't want to use Donphan because it slows me down a lot. And Claydol actually is boom. And Pasho Explosion Claydol is really good at removing Starmie, Gyarados, Suicune, and Latias, which is ideal. Of course, Rapid Spin Explosion and Stealth Rocks means that there's like a lot of rolls compressed into one mon, and I was fine knowing that it's not gonna do all of the rolls at every point in time. I knew in some games I would just be able to get rocks and spin. In some games I might just get rocks, in some games I might just get rocks and boom. I was fine with that. But I really wanted to have the option to be more flexible with my gameplay. If I can approach the game from like different angles, I can adapt to my opponent's teams a lot better. And lastly, I needed a Scalper, and I put Rotom because um, it's a good fighting resist, and it does well against most setup mons. And with Trick and Will-O-Wisp, it can do something against T-Tar too, which by the way was really problematic for this team. Um, that's the team. There is no, nothing special to it other than the Claydol, which has a very specific purpose and does its job well. But it's based on, trying to beat down the opposing team with Infernape, T-Tar, and Empoleon, and then maybe finish out with either of Empoleon, Infernape, or Rotom Wash. It's pretty straightforward. You try to kill shit. On to the game. This is again perfect lead matchup for me. This is like, I think in every game except against Bruno, I got a really good lead matchup. That is partially due to luck, but also partially because I really like scouted my opponent's tendencies, and I played so many DPP games that at some point you just get like a gut feeling and you just know what's coming your way. Um, so this is ideal, and I get an attack raise, which is really good. I thought they were gonna dynamic punch, but turns out they bulk up, which alright if you want to. Since I got an attack raise, I kill. If I didn't get an attack raise, it would have lived, but I always, the worst case scenario for me is a 50-50 there with if I hit through confusion or not. And between, attack raises and crits and the confusion, I was favored to like get out of this with pretty decent health. But I got out of it with full health, which meant they had to go scissor, and it gave me a free EQ, a lot of damage on this, which is great, because now Empoleon kills, now it doesn't trap Rotom anymore. Now actually Claydol is a roll to kill, so like there's a lot of good turns that can happen here. I go Metagross, he goes Gyarados. So here is the first turn where I didn't like entirely think things through. So if you look at Gyarados, or one of us didn't, I don't know if it was him or me honestly, because it's a judgment call. Gyarados against 0 bulk Metagross, which he knows I am. EQ kills, and he's faster usually. He knows I'm adamant from the cogs. He knows I'm 0 HP or close to 0 HP. He knows he's always going to kill with EQ. So I assumed that's why he went to Gyarados. But he does not go for EQ, instead he switches out. I'm not sure if that was a good play on his end, but it definitely at least gave me the information that this is probably not EQ Gyarados. Or that he's so scared of letting Latias in that he's willing to risk a Spita with Gengar? I'm not sure, but that definitely, like, it should have told me it's not EQ Gyarados, which I should have considered in a few turns later. I go Claydol, I live this. It's a roll, depending on his EV spread, but generally, like, I usually live this. Claydol, blank set. I have like 16 HP EVs. So unless it's Life Orb, oh no, no rocks. I almost always live. It's a 6% chance to kill plus crit. So I could have set my rocks here, but I figured I want to keep this for Gyarados. And I switch out to T-Tar and risk the Focus Blast instead. Honestly, maybe not perfect, because if I get the rocks, Scizor is super weakened, it can no longer trap at all, and Gyarados takes 25% every time it comes in on probably Infernape, so I'm looking really good. And also there's a high chance there's a camera up there, because these guys, they essentially had already lost at this point. Like, their season was over and they couldn't really do much, and I know how much they love. But I didn't set the rocks. I should have, but I didn't. I was like, I want to preserve this and set rocks later. I go to T-Tar. Gengar is, by the way, I didn't want to face it. This team's pretty Gengar weak, and my opponents apparently knew that all my teams are always Gengar weak, but it's also a shit mon, so fuck that. My only counterplay to Gengar is actually the Choppleberry on this Empoleon. So he Shadow Balls, I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'm gonna stay in and pray for a miss, because that's what I do against Gengar. Fuck Gengar. He's no item and no Life Orb, so I was like, he's probably Chople or Lumberry. Seeing that he does not seem to have a good preload, switching is probably Lumberry. I go to Empoleon. See, this is where, had I clicked rocks with Claydol and Sec Dead instead of Tyranitar, would have been a lot better. I go Waterfall, and I should know he doesn't have EQ at this point. But I make a mistake because I go Rotom. This is like, it's silly. I knew he doesn't have EQ, so I should have gone to Claydol because I'm probably faster. And I make another mistake by going for Thunderbolt, knowing that they probably have camera up. There was no way they don't. I didn't think of it in the moment, and as you can see, my timer didn't show up here at all. I didn't think of it. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna play safe because I had quite a lot, and if I get a setup with, if I get my rocks up and get to set up with Napoleon, I'm really good. So they go Camerupt, I go Claydol as they double to Scissor, which I think honestly was a mistake. If they Lava Plume there, they're good. If they like get rocks, that's even better. But they don't, they go Scissor. I could, this year, if you look at this, I'm like 252. I think I'm like, what's the nature again? I'm Jolly, yeah. And I EQ against Scissor, OU Choice Band. This is against max HP, and they probably didn't have that from the Metagross cog. I think they had like 100, less than 100, I think that's what Exo told me. So I didn't know that though. Like from the way I looked at it, it could have been like something like this. I had like a really good chance to kill. I ran the calcs at that moment. I was like, I have like at least an 80% chance to kill, probably better. But if I don't kill, Claydol dies, and I don't get rocks. And if I do get rocks, Empoleon's just gonna fucking sweep. So I prioritized the rocks over a essentially almost a guaranteed kill. And I think that was maybe the best play I made all game because that enabled my win. So this dies, he goes Camerupt, which I guess is fine. I go Empoleon, I can Waterfall. Gyarados, essentially next time Gyarados comes in, it has, it has no leftovers. If I SD and it comes in, I just win, right? At least it doesn't stop me. I don't know if I just win, because depending on what the last is, it could be another water resist, but it doesn't stop me. Here, he clicks T-Wave, and um, I'm like mildly surprised, but at this point, I just didn't think it was going to be non-EQ without leftovers. Like, Waterfall T-Wave, I'm not too big of a fan of the set. And he T-Waves and Waterfalls and gets a flinch. I didn't go for Bullet Punch, I should have though. That would have given me better odds. But he gets a flinch, which is kind of bad because now I Bullet Punch and he lives and I have to go to Infernape. If he died, I wasn't forced into Camerupt against Infernape. I could have, he was gonna go Camerupt anyway and kill me, and I could have gone Empoleon and attacked and then switched out and had Infernape alive instead of, things essentially being forced into a U-turn here and Sekmarodon. I Waterfall, and this is like the most crucial turn of the game. Scizor dies. Surrenders Cog, Scizor dies. Gengar lives. It's probably Lum or Colbur Berry. I think Lum. And I'm Chopper Berry. They obviously don't know that. So if they go Scizor, they lose. If they go Gengar and Taunt, I could lose, but it's a 50-50 at the very least, right? So they know I'm SD. And I don't know what the last is. And they reveal it here and they go to Empoleon. I think that was maybe a mistake, because going Gengar, if it was Taunt, gave them a good shot at beating me, because I could have Waterfalled, and I had to switch out then and SD on the Empoleon. But they go to Empoleon straight away, and it's slower than me, and it's agility. So it's like a special offensive one without HP Electric. So like ran some cogs, tried to figure out what to do, and I figured I just set up to +6, and I sweep. Because the next turn puts me to Torrent, and then I KO. I KO all of his monsters, and I just sweep, and that's what happens. I think had they gone to Gengar, they could have like played some Taunt mind games. Obviously, clicking Focus Blast could have also helped, but they would have had to hit 2, which is in my favor, and also it could have meant that, like, if I killed a Gengar, I can sweep with Infernape. So, yeah, it was probably bad, but I think at that point it was looking, things were very much in my favor. So yeah, that's week 7. I'm 5-2 now. I played this game pretty well. I made a lot of good decisions, particularly the stealth rook decision. I made 2 small mistakes. First of all, fucking up against the Gyarados set. Second of all, clicking Thunderbolt with camera up. Oh, and I guess the bullet punch was also not optimal. But you know, altogether, I played a good game and I brought the right team into the right guy against. So I'm feeling comfortable, and also I'm in a much better mindset. Before and particularly after this game, I'm no longer stressing about my teams. I'm being a lot more positive and I'm feeling good after this win. And also, this was like my team won this week like pretty high. I think it was like 10-2 or something. So before that, we had like a negative BD, and after that, we're like plus 6 or 7 or something. No, I think +8. We're plus minus 0 before, then +8. So we're looking good. And we only had to like win the next 2 weeks to make playoffs. We could probably even like tie or lose one of those and still make playoffs. It was like things were looking good. Yeah, thanks for watching and see you around next time.